The rumors have been flying for months. Now they're finally true. McDonald's has changed its value menu.
In 2026, something strange started happening across the United States. Customers weren't just complaining about restaurant prices anymore. They were walking away. Entire dining rooms sat half empty during peak hours. Drive-thru lines, once wrapped around buildings, suddenly moved faster than ever. And for the first time in decades, some of America's biggest restaurant chains were facing a reality they never thought possible. They had pushed prices too far. What used to be a quick, cheap meal turned into a $15 to $20 decision. A simple coffee run, suddenly rivaling the cost of a full breakfast just a few years ago. Even value menus started to feel like luxury items. And consumers noticed. Inflation may have started the trend, but by 2026, customers weren't buying the excuse anymore. Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons, showing how portion sizes shrank while prices climbed higher than ever. Viral videos exposed the gap between what chains were charging and what people felt they were actually getting. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some of the biggest names in the industry, brands that once defined affordability and convenience, began losing their grip. Sales slowed, loyalty dropped, and in some cases, entire strategies had to be rethought almost overnight. Meanwhile, smaller competitors and regional chains quietly stepped in, offering better value, fresher ingredients, or simply lower prices, and customers followed. This wasn't just a pricing issue, it was a trust issue. Because once customers feel like they're being overcharged, winning them back is harder than ever. In this video, we're breaking down 30 major US restaurant chains that pushed prices too far and paid the price in 2026. We'll reveal what went wrong, how customers reacted, and what these brands are now doing to survive. And trust me, some of these names will surprise you. Let's start with one of the biggest fast food giants in the world. Cooking Denny's built its reputation on one powerful idea: always open, always affordable. It was the place you could go anytime, late night, early morning, or anywhere in between, and get a decent meal without spending much. But by 2026, that identity faced serious pressure. Prices increased across the menu, and while Denny's still positioned itself as a value option, customers began noticing the difference. Meals that once felt like budget-friendly staples started creeping into mid-range pricing. Because Denny's wasn't known for premium dining, it was known for accessibility and affordability. When prices rise without a matching upgrade in experience, customers feel it immediately. At the same time, Denny's faced competition from all directions. Fast food chains got faster and cheaper. Casual dining chains improved quality. And local diners continued offering strong value. The result? A gradual shift in customer perception. Denny's was still familiar, still convenient, but not always the obvious choice it once was. By 2026, it faced a critical challenge. How do you stay true to a value-driven identity in a world where everything costs more? Because once customers stop seeing you as affordable, winning them back becomes a much harder fight. Pancakes IHOP has long been synonymous with comfort food, especially breakfast. Pancakes, waffles, omelets. It built a loyal following on familiar, affordable meals served all day. But by 2026, that affordability came into question. Prices for classic breakfast combos rose steadily, and while the portions remained relatively generous, customers began noticing the total bill climbing higher than expected. Breakfast, once considered the cheapest meal of the day, didn't feel so cheap anymore, and that changed behavior. Some customers shifted to cooking at home. Others explored local diners offering similar meals at lower prices or with a more authentic feel. IHOP also faced rising competition from fast food breakfast menus, which became faster, cheaper, and more convenient. So now, IHOP had to justify something more. Why choose a sit-down breakfast experience at a higher cost? But by 2026, it required more effort. IHOP leaned into promotions, seasonal menus, and loyalty programs. But the pricing conversation didn't go away. Because when everyday meals start feeling like occasional treats, customers start treating them that way. Fork and knife with plate Applebee's for decades. Applebee's thrived on being the go-to neighborhood spot. Affordable meals, casual atmosphere, a place where families and friends could gather without spending too much. But in 2026, affordability became a major concern. Menu prices increased across the board, And while that wasn't unusual in the industry, Applebee's faced a unique challenge. Its identity was built on value dining. When that value starts slipping, the entire brand feels different. Customers began noticing higher prices on familiar items, while the overall experience stayed largely the same. And that created friction, because if the price goes up, customers expect something more in return. Better food, better service, a better experience. When those improvements aren't obvious, people start reconsidering their choices. Meanwhile, competition intensified. Fast casual chains offered quicker service. Casual dining competitors pushed aggressive deals. And even fast food chains improved quality while keeping prices competitive. Applebee's responded with promotions, limited time offers, and value bundles. But the perception challenge remained. By 2026, the question wasn't whether Applebee's was good, it was whether it still felt like a good deal. And in a price-sensitive market, that distinction matters more than ever. Hamburger Shake Shack built its reputation on being a modern, upscale burger experience. It wasn't just about the food, it was about branding, design, and the feeling of getting something a little more special than traditional fast food. And for a while, that worked perfectly. Customers expected higher prices and accepted them. But by 2026, expectations started rising just as fast as prices. Meals became noticeably more expensive, and while Shake Shack maintained its premium image, customers began scrutinizing the details more closely. Portion sizes, wait times, consistency. Because when you're paying premium prices, every part of the experience matters. And that's where the cracks started to show. Some customers felt the portions were too small for the price. Others compared Shake Shack to competitors offering larger burgers or more filling meals at similar, or even lower, costs. At the same time, the premium burger space became crowded. New entrants, regional chains, and gourmet burger concepts all competed for the same audience. And many of them leaned heavily into value, something Shake Shack didn't always prioritize. The result? A shift in perception. Shake Shack was still seen as high quality, but no longer as uniquely worth the price for every customer. By 2026, it remained a strong brand, but one facing an increasingly important question. How do you justify premium pricing when premium is becoming the norm? Hamburger Five Guys never tried to be cheap. From day one, it leaned into a simple message: higher price, higher quality. Fresh beef, generous portions, unlimited toppings, and those famously overflowing fries. For years, customers accepted the higher price because the experience felt worth it. But by 2026, even loyal fans started to pause. Prices had climbed significantly. A burger, fries, and drink could easily push past $20 in some locations. And while the food was still good, the question changed from, is it tasty, to, is it worth this much? That shift in mindset is powerful, because Five Guys operates in a very specific space between fast food and premium dining. And as prices rise, it risks drifting closer to full-service restaurant territory without offering the same experience. Customers began comparing options. Why not sit down at a casual restaurant for a similar price? Why not try a gourmet burger spot with more variety? Suddenly, Five Guys wasn't just competing with fast food, it was competing with entire categories. And while the brand still delivered on quality, the pricing conversation became unavoidable. Some customers stayed loyal. Others treated it as an occasional splurge instead of a regular stop. By 2026, Five Guys wasn't struggling, but it was clearly facing a new reality. There's a limit to how far premium fast casual pricing can go. Baguette bread Panera bread. For years, Panera bread positioned itself as the smarter alternative to fast food. Cleaner ingredients, fresher meals, a calm cafe atmosphere where you could sit, work, and feel like you were making a better choice. But by 2026, that better choice came with a price many customers started to question. Menu prices steadily climbed, soups, sandwiches, salads, all creeping higher year after year. What used to feel like an affordable lunch upgrade began to feel like a full-on premium expense. And customers noticed something else. Portion sizes didn't always seem to match the rising cost. A soup and sandwich combo that once felt satisfying now felt smaller, less filling, less worth it. The value equation started to break down. At the same time, Panera leaned heavily into digital ordering, subscriptions, and loyalty perks. The unlimited sip club kept customers coming back, but for food, the hesitation grew. Social media conversations reflected that shift. People weren't necessarily criticizing the quality, but they were questioning the price. It's good, but is it that good? Meanwhile, competitors moved in. Fast casual chains, grocery store prepared meals, and even local cafes began offering similar quality at lower prices, or larger portions at the same price. By 2026, Panera faced a subtle but serious problem. It wasn't losing relevance, but it was losing its value perception. And in a market where customers are constantly comparing options, that perception matters more than ever. Burrito Chipotle Mexican Grill has always positioned itself differently. It wasn't fast food, it was fast casual. Higher quality ingredients, customizable meals, and a slightly more premium experience. Customers expected to pay more, and for years, they were okay with it. But by 2026, that balance started to shift. Prices increased steadily, and while Chipotle maintained strong demand, customers began noticing something else: portion inconsistency. Some bowls were full and satisfying, others felt noticeably lighter. And when you're paying premium prices, consistency becomes critical. Social media once again played a major role. Videos comparing portion sizes went viral. Customers shared experiences of half-full bowls and rising costs. The conversation shifted from quality to value, and that's where the tension grew. Because Chipotle's success depends on a simple equation: higher price equals higher perceived value. If that perception weakens, even slightly, it creates friction. At the same time, competition intensified. Other fast casual brands entered the space, offering similar concepts at competitive prices or with more consistent portions. Chipotle responded by emphasizing ingredient quality, transparency, and digital ordering efficiency. But the pricing conversation didn't go away, because in 2026, even loyal customers started asking, how much is too much? Chipotle remained strong, but it faced a critical reminder. Premium pricing only works when customers feel they're getting premium value every single time. Domino's built its modern success on two things: speed and value. For years, Domino's dominated the delivery game with aggressive deals and reliable service. It became the go-to choice for affordable pizza at home. But by 2026, even Domino's felt the pressure. Prices increased across the menu, and while base deals still existed, the final cost, after delivery fees, service charges, and tips, often surprised customers. A cheap pizza night didn't always feel cheap anymore. And unlike before, customers had more options. Third-party delivery apps opened the door to countless alternatives: local pizzerias, new chains, even grocery store ready-made meals. Domino's was no longer competing in a limited field. It was competing with everyone. Customers began questioning whether the convenience justified the cost. Some shifted to carry-out deals. Others explored cheaper or higher quality alternatives. Domino's responded strategically. They doubled down on digital ordering, loyalty rewards, and targeted discounts. They emphasized carry-out specials to reduce delivery costs, and they leaned heavily into technology to maintain efficiency. But the challenge remained. When your biggest advantage is affordability, rising prices hit harder. Domino's didn't lose its position, but in 2026, it had to fight harder than ever to keep it. Pizza Hut for decades. Pizza Hut represented more than just pizza. It was dine-in experiences, family nights, and iconic pan pizzas that felt like a treat. But by 2026, the landscape had completely changed. Most customers weren't dining in anymore. They were ordering delivery. And in the delivery world, price comparisons happen instantly. That's where the pressure began. Pizza Hut's prices, combined with delivery fees and service charges, often pushed orders higher than expected. A simple pizza night could quickly turn into a surprisingly expensive decision, and customers noticed. Competitors offered cheaper deals, faster delivery, or better perceived quality. Even local pizzerias, once seen as niche options, started gaining traction as customers searched for better value. At the same time, Pizza Hut faced an identity challenge. Was it a premium pizza brand? A value option? A nostalgic experience? By 2026, customers weren't entirely sure anymore. Promotions and combo deals helped, but the overall perception remained mixed. Some customers stayed loyal, Others drifted away in search of better pricing or fresher alternatives. The biggest issue? When convenience becomes expensive, people start reconsidering convenience. Pizza Hut wasn't disappearing, but it was being forced to rethink how it positioned itself in a highly competitive, price-sensitive market. Poultry leg KFC has always been about comfort. Crispy fried chicken, family buckets, familiar flavors. It wasn't just food, it was tradition. But in 2026, that tradition came with a higher price tag than many customers expected. Chicken prices rose globally, and KFC passed much of that cost on to customers. Family meals, once considered a budget-friendly way to feed a group, started pushing into territory that felt expensive. And families noticed, because KFC's core appeal wasn't just taste, it was value for groups. When that value started slipping, customers began reconsidering their options. Grocery stores offered cheaper alternatives. Local restaurants served similar meals at competitive prices. And even other chains began targeting family deals more aggressively. But pricing wasn't the only issue. Consistency became a growing concern in some locations. Portion sizes, preparation quality, and service speed varied. And when prices rise, inconsistency becomes much harder to ignore. Online, customer sentiment reflected frustration, not necessarily with the brand itself, but with the feeling that it no longer delivered the same value it once did. KFC responded with promotions, digital deals, and limited-time offers. But the challenge remained clear. How do you stay affordable when your core ingredient keeps getting more expensive? By 2026, KFC was still a global powerhouse, but it was navigating a delicate balance between cost and customer expectations. Taco Bell. For years, Taco Bell was the undisputed king of cheap eats. Late-night cravings, college budgets, quick snacks. Taco Bell built its empire on one idea. You could get a lot of food for very little money. But by 2026, that identity started to blur. Menu prices crept up steadily. Items that once cost under $1 were now $2, $3, even $4. And while that might not sound extreme at first, Taco Bell's core audience noticed immediately. Because Taco Bell wasn't just another fast food chain, it was supposed to be the affordable one. The real turning point came when customers began comparing value boxes and combo meals. What used to feel like a deal suddenly felt average. In some cases, even overpriced compared to competitors offering larger portions or better ingredients. Social media amplified everything. Users posted side-by-side comparisons, showing smaller items, higher totals, and fewer wow deals. The famous value menu? Still there, but not hitting the same way it used to. And here's where it got interesting. Taco Bell leaned heavily into limited-time items and creative menu launches to keep excitement high. But some customers began to feel like innovation was replacing value, not enhancing it. Meanwhile, competitors stepped in with aggressive pricing strategies, targeting the exact audience Taco Bell once dominated. By 2026, Taco Bell wasn't collapsing, but it was clearly adjusting. More bundled deals, more app-exclusive discounts, more attempts to remind customers why they fell in love with the brand in the first place. Because when your entire identity is built on affordability, even small price increases can have a massive impact. Wendy's built its brand on freshness. Fresh, never frozen, wasn't just a slogan. It was a key part of why customers were willing to choose Wendy's over competitors. But in 2026, even that advantage faced pressure. Prices steadily climbed, and while Wendy's positioned itself slightly above traditional fast food, customers began questioning just how much extra they should be paying. The gap between expectation and reality became more noticeable. Was the food better? In many cases, yes. Was it that much better to justify the higher cost? That's where opinions started to split. Wendy's also experimented with dynamic pricing discussions and premium menu strategies, which sparked debates among customers. Even the idea of fluctuating prices raised concerns about affordability and fairness. Meanwhile, competitors doubled down on value deals, pulling price-sensitive customers away. By 2026, Wendy's found itself walking a tightrope, trying to maintain a premium image, while not losing customers who originally came for value. Because in today's market, customers are more aware than ever. They compare prices, they share experiences, and they're quick to switch brands when something feels off. Wendy's didn't lose its identity, but it faced a critical test. Can a fast food chain charge more and still feel like a good deal? Burger King has always played the role of McDonald's biggest rival. Known for flame-grilled burgers and bold marketing, it built its appeal on offering something just a little different, often at a competitive price. But by 2026, that competitive edge started slipping. Prices increased across the menu, and while that wasn't unique to Burger King, customers began noticing a gap between cost and experience. Some locations struggled with consistency, food quality, service speed, and overall experience varied widely. And when prices rise, customers expect reliability. Without it, frustration grows quickly. At the same time, Burger King faced intense competition from both ends. Premium fast casual chains offered higher quality burgers, while value-focused competitors fought hard to keep prices low. This left Burger King in a difficult position, too expensive to be a value leader, but not premium enough to justify the price. Customer sentiment in 2026 reflected that tension. Online reviews and social media feedback pointed to declining satisfaction in certain markets, especially when compared to rising prices. In response, Burger King pushed promotions, discounts, and menu innovation. But the challenge remained clear: pricing without perceived value is a dangerous game. Sandwich Subway. There was a time when Subway dominated the fast food sandwich market with one iconic message: eat fresh for less. The famous $5 footlong deal became one of the most recognizable promotions in fast food history. It wasn't just a price, it was a promise. But by 2026, that promise felt like a distant memory. Prices for footlong sandwiches climbed well beyond $10 in many locations. And for customers who grew up associating Subway with affordability, the shift felt dramatic. But here's where things got complicated. Unlike burgers or fries, sandwiches are easy to compare. Customers could walk into a local deli and get a fresher, often larger sandwich for a similar, or even lower, price. And many did. Subway faced a unique challenge. It wasn't just competing with other chains. It was competing with local businesses that often offered better perceived value. Customers also raised concerns about consistency. Some locations delivered great quality, others didn't. And when prices rise, inconsistency becomes a much bigger problem. By 2026, Subway leaned heavily into menu refreshes, new recipes, and marketing campaigns to reposition itself. But the pricing issue lingered. Because when your brand is built on affordability, raising prices doesn't just change your menu, it changes your identity. Hot beverage Starbucks was never the cheapest option, and it never tried to be. Instead, it sold something different: an experience, a place to relax, work, meet friends, and enjoy a premium cup of coffee. For years, customers were willing to pay extra for that feeling. But by 2026, something shifted. Prices kept climbing, slowly at first, then more noticeably. A drink that used to cost $4 or $5 started pushing past $7, sometimes even higher with customizations. And while Starbucks loyalists stayed for a while, even they began asking, is it still worth it? The issue wasn't just price, it was perception. Customers began to feel like they were paying more without getting more in return. Wait times increased at busy locations. Stores became crowded or understaffed. And the premium experience didn't always match the premium price anymore. Meanwhile, competition exploded. Local coffee shops, boutique cafes, and even convenience stores stepped up their game, offering high-quality drinks at lower prices. Suddenly, Starbucks wasn't the only option for good coffee, and customers noticed. By mid-2026, signs of strain started to appear. Some locations saw declining traffic. Others relied heavily on mobile orders and rewards programs to maintain sales. Starbucks responded with targeted promotions, limited-time drinks, and loyalty perks, but the core challenge remained. Customers were reevaluating their daily habits. Because when a daily coffee turns into a significant monthly expense, people start making changes. Starbucks still holds a powerful brand, but 2026 proved that even premium positioning has limits. McDonald's for decades. McDonald's built its empire on one simple promise: fast, cheap, and consistent food. It was the place where a few dollars could get you a full meal. The brand practically defined the concept of value in fast food. But by 2026, that reputation started to crack. Customers began noticing something unsettling. A meal that once cost $5 to $6 was now creeping closer to $12, even $15 in some locations. And it wasn't just inflation. People felt the increases were happening faster than their wallets could keep up. Social media didn't hold back. Viral posts compared old receipts to new ones. Customers pointed out smaller portions, fewer deals, and higher combo prices. The famous dollar menu had long since disappeared, but now even budget options didn't feel budget-friendly anymore. And then came the biggest problem. Customers started changing their habits. Instead of automatic McDonald's runs, people began exploring alternatives, local diners, grocery store meals, or competitors offering better value. For many, the question became simple: why pay premium prices for fast food? Reports in 2026 suggested slowing foot traffic in several regions, forcing McDonald's to respond. Limited-time deals returned. App-based discounts became more aggressive, and the company leaned heavily into loyalty programs to win customers back. But the damage was already visible, because once a brand built on affordability loses that identity, rebuilding it is incredibly difficult. McDonald's is still a giant, but in 2026, it learned a tough lesson. Even the biggest fast food chain in the world isn't immune to pricing backlash. So what does all of this really mean? In 2026, something bigger than just rising prices happened. Customers didn't just react, they adapted. For years, brands like McDonald's, Starbucks, and Chipotle Mexican Grill operated with a kind of unspoken trust. People believed that no matter what, these places would deliver a certain level of value, whether it was cheap, convenient, or premium. But once that trust started to crack, everything changed. Because today's customers are different. They compare prices instantly, they share experiences publicly, and they switch brands faster than ever before. Loyalty isn't automatic anymore. It has to be earned every single visit. And here's the most important part. This isn't just about inflation. It's not even just about pricing. It's about perception. If customers feel like they're overpaying, even slightly, they start looking for alternatives. And in today's market, alternatives are everywhere. Local restaurants, smaller chains, grocery store meals, delivery apps filled with options. The competition isn't just across the street anymore. It's everywhere. And that's why even industry giants like Domino's, Panera Bread, and Taco Bell were forced to adjust in 2026, bringing back deals, pushing loyalty programs, and trying to rebuild that sense of value. But rebuilding trust is harder than raising prices, because once customers start questioning a brand's worth, they don't just come back automatically. They need a reason. And here's the question that will define the future of the restaurant industry. Can these chains win customers back, or has the shift already happened? Because one thing is clear, the days of blindly paying whatever's on the menu are over. Direct hit if you found this breakdown interesting. You'll want to watch what happens next. Because some chains are already making a comeback, while others are quietly falling behind. And the difference between them? It all comes down to one thing: value.